My fiancée and my own sister despised me for a decade. They were convinced that I had bullied the boy they both adored. At my own engagement party, they exposed my alleged crimes to the world. He's nothing but a lowlife who tormented his classmate. In a video broadcast live to the entire nation, the boy, Caleb, smiled through his tears. "I don't blame him anymore," he said, his voice trembling gracefully. "Looking back, it all seems like a distant storm, and my ship has already sailed past the mountains." He became an overnight sensation. I, on the other hand, was universally condemned. An extremist fan threw sulfuric acid in my face. In my despair and agony, I took him down with me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my final year of high school. Caleb was pouring water over his own head, a smirk on his face as he asked me, "Have you figured out how you're going to apologize to me yet?" In that instant, I snapped. I grabbed him by the hair, dragged him into the nearest restroom, and shoved his head into the toilet bowl. "Let me teach you what real bullying looks like," I snarled. "And since your mouth is so filthy, make sure you wash it out before you go crying for help." My last memory of my previous life was the blinding, all-consuming pain of concentrated sulfuric acid melting my eyeball. Through the agony and my blurring vision, I found Caleb Stone, sheltered safely behind my sister. I grabbed the nearest cake knife, lunged forward, and plunged it into his chest. "Let's go to hell together." When I opened my eyes again, the world was unervingly clear. It took me a moment to process. Then I saw him, standing not far away, a much younger Caleb Stone. He was wearing a faded school uniform, holding the faucet open and drenching his own hair with cold water. As the water streamed down his face, he smiled at me. "Who do you think they'll believe, Leo? You or me?" It all came rushing back. This was the day it all began. The day I was first branded a bully. Seeing me standing there, frozen in shock, Caleb's smile widened. "Have you figured out how you're going to apologize to me, little prince?" Oof. A tidal wave of old hatred and new fury crashed over me. I charged forward, seized a fistful of his wet hair, and dragged him into the men's restroom. Amidst his sudden, piercing screams, I forced his face down into the grimy toilet bowl. "You think a little cold water is enough to frame me? Here, let me give you a personal lesson in what real bullying feels like." Caleb thrashed wildly, his arms flailing like windmills, but he couldn't break my grip. His face was submerged in the foul water, his protests turning into muffled gurgles. "Leo Vance, let me go, glug arg." I threw my head back and laughed, the sound echoing off the tiled walls. "Your mouth is so foul. You'd better wash it properly before you go telling tales." I didn't care if this was a second chance or a hallucination in death's final moments. It didn't matter. I had completely lost my mind. In my past life, I died on what should have been the most glorious day of my life. I had just won my third Best Actor award. I was dressed in a designer suit, standing beside my childhood sweetheart and fiancée, Serena Marsh, at our magnificent engagement party, broadcast live for all to see. Then she took the microphone and announced, "I will never marry a lowlife who bullied his classmates in high school." As I stared at her in utter disbelief, Caleb Stone emerged from the audience. With tears in his eyes, he looked up at the stage, a sad, beautiful smile on his face. "Leo Vance, do you remember me? I'm Caleb Stone, the boy you bullied for 10 years. His voice was a perfect blend of vulnerability and strength. "You probably never imagined that one day, I'd be standing on the same stage as you, as an equal." He paused, letting the drama build. "But it's all right. I don't blame you anymore. Looking back, my ship has already sailed past the mountains." The broadcast went viral. He became an instant star. Before I could even process what was happening, a horde of reporters, clearly prearranged by my sister and Serena, stormed the venue, swarming me. "Mr. Vance, we hear you've continued your bullying habits on film sets, targeting new actors. Someone photographed you at a clinic recently. Is it true your promiscuous lifestyle has led to a rather unpleasant disease?" From the chaos of the crowd, an obsessed fan lunged forward, throwing a cup of liquid directly at my face. "You monster! Go to hell." The liquid hit me, and an indescribable, searing pain enveloped my face. My vision dissolved into a blur of agony and darkness. My fall from grace was instantaneous. Snapping back to the present, I released my grip. Caleb collapsed to the dirty floor, gasping for air. His innocent, handsome face was now smeared with filth. I couldn't help but let out a laugh. "Go on, cry." I taunted, my voice low and menacing. "Scream. Go tell the whole world I bullied you with that face. Go on. My voice rose to a shout on the last word. The phantom pain of acid dissolving my features from my past life flared in my mind. I viciously kicked him in the face a couple of times for good measure before turning to leave. Downstairs, my deskmate Dylan Croft was waiting for me. Gym class started ages ago. What were you doing up there? Oh, I said casually. Just bullying the new kid. His head whipped around, his eyes wide with shock. What? As a wise man once said, I declared, when the world insists you're a bully, you might as well be a damn good one. Did a wise man really say that? Not important. As we walked towards the sports field, we ran straight into Serena Marsh. She wasn't in my class, but everyone at school knew she was Leo Vance's girl, his childhood sweetheart. Her gaze slid past me, landing somewhere behind me with feigned innocence. Leo, why are you so late? Oh, I heard you have a new transfer student in your class. In my past life, every time Caleb slandered me, she would be the one to gently coax me into apologizing to him, just to make the problem go away. She always seemed to be on my side, but her every word only served to cement my guilt. The thought made my blood boil. Without warning, I raised my hand and slapped her across the face. Dylan, standing beside me, looked like he'd seen a ghost. Serena's expression barely flickered. A cold glint flashed in her eyes for a split second before her mask of gentle concern slipped back on. She lowered her head and affectionately nuzzled my cheek. What's wrong, Leo? Are you in a bad mood? It took me a long time in my past life to learn the truth. As a child, after being abandoned by her mother at an amusement park, Serena spent some time in an orphanage. There, she met a cheerful, sunny little boy. He shared his bed with her and gave her a piece of candy. He became the only light in her dark world. That light was Caleb Stone, and she had recognized him the very day he transferred to our school. She had always believed every lie Caleb told about me, hating me, to her very core, but she had to hide it. As an illegitimate daughter, she needed to secure her position in her family by marrying me. Thinking of this, I spoke. Let's break up. Her pupils contracted violently. Why? Give me a reason, Leo. I pulled out a tissue and began wiping the spot on my cheek where she had touched me. I don't want to date the daughter of a homewrecker. You're filthy. Is that reason enough? After I walked away, Dylan cautiously asked me if I was possessed. I couldn't blame him. In high school, my affection for Serena had been passionate and obvious. I waited for her after school every day. I once burned my hands baking cookies for her and still delivered them with a grin. My devotion was a fact known to the entire world. But things were different now. The Leo Vance of senior year was dead. Standing here now was a man who had died once and come back for revenge. Caleb didn't show his face for the rest of the day. I knew he wouldn't. His face was his greatest asset, and he wouldn't deploy it without a plan to maximize its impact. I waited patiently. Soon, Saturday arrived. My 18th birthday. My parents had planned a grand banquet to celebrate my coming of age, but an urgent matter at their company meant they would be arriving late. Crystal chandeliers cast a brilliant glow over the party. I descended the sweeping spiral staircase into the living room, dressed in a tailored suit. From a distance, I saw my sister, Victoria Vance. She looked impeccable and severe, her face a mask of indifference as she called out, "Leo, come here." I walked over, pretending not to notice Serena, with her shadowed gaze, or the tearful Caleb standing just behind her. I put on a sweet smile. "What is it, sister? Do you have a special gift for me?" Victoria stared at me with cold eyes for a long moment before speaking. "Bullying your classmates, insulting your friends. Leo, is this what the Vance family taught you?" She made no effort to lower her voice. In an instant, every guest in the room turned to stare. "What are you talking about, sister?" "I don't understand," I said, looking at Caleb with a tilted head. "Who did I insult? And when did I bully anyone? I don't even know him." "It's too late for denials. You must pay the price for your mistakes. Mom and Dad aren't here today, so I will discipline you in their place." With that, Victoria took a thin, wooden ruler from a nearby display cabinet. She looked at me, her voice sharp and severe. "Kneel." In the vast hall, countless pairs of eyes watched the drama unfold. "What? Bullying? The Vance boy does things like that. Well, he's a spoiled brat. It's only natural he can't stand to see someone more talented than him. It's a good thing his sister is upholding justice. She doesn't play favorites." Amidst Caleb's triumphant, provocative stare, I stood up straight. A vicious smile spread across my face. "What nonsense are you spouting, sister? Anyone who knows you might think you're Victoria Vance. But those who don't would assume you're some Qing dynasty ghost possessing a new body. I only kneel for my ancestors. But I'll make you a deal, I said, looking her up and down with a wicked grin. Go find a tall building and jump off it right now. I promise I'll kneel and kowtow 3 times to see you off. Victoria's face darkened instantly. Behind her, Caleb spoke in a mock-pious tone. Leo, I know you don't like me, and it's one thing to bully me. But how can you speak to your own sister like that? He widened his eyes, letting tears well up, deliberately crafting an expression of pure innocence. Serena, standing nearby, saw this, and a strange, dark emotion flickered in her eyes. Then, she spoke in a low voice. Leo, if you did something wrong, just apologize. There's no need to. I widened my own eyes in mock distress. I'm sorry, I don't understand barking. Could one of you please repeat that in a human language? Enough. Victoria's voice was a sharp command. Leo, do you have any sense of shame? Who taught you to be so foul-mouthed and uncivilized? She was just like she'd always been, refusing to believe a word I said. Instead, her prejudice hammered another nail into my coffin. I curled my lip, mimicking her cold sneer. Mom and Dad are always busy. They have no time to teach me. So guess who did? Of course, it was you, my dear sister. In my past life, I had both feared and loved Victoria. Being several years older, she had always been an imposing figure. When we were young, our parents were busy with the company, so she was the one who raised me. The slightest mistake earned me a smack on the palm with her ruler and being sent to bed without dinner. When I brought home a curly-haired stray puppy, she refused to let the housekeeper open the door. It's filthy. We don't allow such things in this house. So I sat on the front steps all night, holding the little dog, feeling helpless. I was too young then. I just assumed that was her personality, that she didn't know how to be gentle and doting like other sisters. It wasn't until Caleb appeared that I realized the truth. My sister wasn't incapable of gentleness. The target of that gentleness just wasn't me. I saw her hand Caleb a carton of warm milk through her car window, ruffling his hair and saying, "Make sure you eat 3 meals a day. If you need money, I'm here." I saw her hold an umbrella for him on a rainy day as he cradled a scrawny stray cat, asking softly, "Do you want to keep it?" When Caleb got drunk and mumbled nonsense while clutching her sleeve, she listened patiently, her eyes filled with a tenderness I had never seen. In my past life, I was trapped in a web of deceit, constantly wondering why my sister didn't love me, why my fiancé didn't stand by me. Reborn, I finally understood. I am my own person. I don't need their love to survive. The birthday party ended in shambles. Just as my standoff with Victoria reached its peak, my parents returned. They politely thanked the guests and saw them out. Caleb tried to play the victim in front of my mother, but she stopped him with a cool smile. "Excuse me, young man. This is a Vance family matter. We will handle it ourselves. Please leave." Caleb faltered, shot a near-tearful glance at Victoria, and finally left. Once only the 3 of us remained, my father spoke with an air of authority. "All right, tell me what happened." Before Victoria could speak, I cut in. A new student transferred to our school recently. On his very first day, he poured water all over himself and then insisted I did it, claiming I was bullying him. I looked at Victoria, who was now sitting on the sofa, and delivered the final blow. Then I found out this person, Caleb Stone, is the same underprivileged student my sister has been secretly sponsoring. Victoria's head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock. "Surprised, aren't you, sister, that I found out about your little secret so soon?" I pressed my knuckles into my red-rimmed eyes, my voice choking with emotion. "I'm not even mad at him. It's just a birthday party. I can skip it. I'm just so sad that my own sister wouldn't believe me." In this world, Caleb wasn't the only one who knew how to play the victim. My tearful performance was enough for my father to bring down the gavel. "Enough. It doesn't matter who bullied whom. This ends now. If this gets out, it will be bad for all of you. The matter is closed." Back at school, I began to bully Caleb openly and extravagantly. I poured ink into his desk drawer. I laughed loudly when he recited English texts with his provincial accent. I tore his physics exam into pieces and scattered them over his head like confetti. "Go on," I said with a smile. "Go tell on me again. Isn't that what you're best at?" A shred of paper drifted down from his hair. He looked at me, his eyes flashing with a deep, venomous hatred. But in the end, he just trembled and sobbed out an apology. "I'm sorry, Leo, I'm so sorry. If I did something to upset you, I'll apologize right now. I'll change, I promise. Your very existence upsets me. I said, raising an eyebrow. How do you plan to change that? By dying. He was speechless, unable to utter a single word. He just continued to cry. For the first time, I discovered what a thrill it was to be the bully. Of course, he told the teachers. I was summoned to the office. I tearfully recounted the events of my birthday party, finally producing a hospital's diagnostic letter. Because of his lies, my sister humiliated me in front of all those people. I cry every day just thinking about it. I wake up from nightmares every night. I added the finishing touch. I'm seeing a psychiatrist and taking medication. The doctor says I have severe depression. In the end, the teacher had to console me. Everyone could see that I despised Caleb. Dylan was confused. Why are you targeting him so much? Did he do something terrible? I looked up at him and smiled. Couldn't it just be that I'm a terrible person? A rich kid who looks down on the new, poor student? Cut it out, he said, rolling his eyes. If you were that kind of person, why don't you bully me? My family is way poorer than his. The first day we became friends, you bought me enough school supplies to last all 3 years of high school. I'd sooner believe I'm the reincarnation of a Roman emperor than believe you're a bully. Even I can see that. Yes, it was a simple truth anyone could see. Anyone except my sister and the woman I loved. I curved my lips into a smile, but there was no warmth in my eyes. A month later was the school's centennial celebration. In my past life, under the arrangement of Victoria and Serena, Caleb performed a solo piano piece at the gala. His performance caught the eye of a talent scout from a prestigious university, earning him the sole spot for special admission. As for me, I had started violin at the age of 4 and practiced for over a decade. I had also prepared a piece for the gala. But Serena found me. She hugged me as the sun set over the campus and whispered, "Can you not perform on stage? Leo, I don't want so many people to see how amazing you are. I'll get jealous. Please, just play for me. Just for me, okay?" I was such a fool back then. I was flattered, thinking it was a sign of how much she cared for me. So on the day of the performance, I didn't go. I stayed in an empty music room and played for her, over and over again. As my piece concluded, a thunderous wave of applause echoed from the grand auditorium in the distance. Serena heard it and suddenly smiled. She was always so gentle and quiet around me, her smiles faint and misty. It was the first time I had ever seen such a strong emotion on her face. I stopped playing and asked stupidly, "Are you happy?" She paused for a moment. "Yes, I'm happy." At the time, I thought she was happy because I had played for her alone. It was only much later that I learned the truth. She was happy because Caleb's performance had been a resounding success. The only light in her life now had a bright and glorious future. This time, I submitted my application to perform. But it wasn't a solo. I gathered every student in my class who was interested in performing and arranged a full symphony. I paid for professional instructors, bought the most expensive costumes, and had the best props custom-made. In comparison, Caleb's piano solo seemed utterly simplistic. I don't know what he cried about to Victoria. That evening, when I came home from school, she intercepted me in the garden. "Leo Vance," my sister said, her face in a motionless mask. "The school gala. Withdraw your performance." I smirked. "Victoria, what are you barking about now? Don't think for a second that I'm negotiating with you," Victoria said, a cold mockery entering her eyes. "If you insist on performing, you will face the consequences." I stopped and stared into her frigid eyes. "Sister, is your little pet so lacking in confidence? After practicing piano for over a decade, he's still afraid to compete on the same stage as me? What a complete waste." A few days before the gala, Serena found me. "Leo," she began, her voice soft. "I was wrong about what happened last time. But you've blocked all my contacts and you refuse to see me. I don't know what happened, Leo. Is there a misunderstanding? Or have you fallen for someone else?" As she spoke the last few words, her voice was tinged with a palpable pain. "But you told me yourself. You said you would only ever love me." A surge of anger, sharp and piercing, shot through me. For so many years, my love for her had been genuine. She said she didn't like me filming kiss scenes, so I turned down offers from famous directors. She said Caleb had a difficult background and was bullied in the orphanage, so I should be more lenient with him. I forgave his transgressions time and time again. All I wanted was to trade my sincerity for hers. What I got in return was a decade of slander and hatred. In that moment, I couldn't even be bothered to keep up appearances. I grabbed the front of her shirt and slammed her against the trunk of a tree behind her. She gasped in pain, but before she could speak, I slapped her face. Hard. I didn't hold back. Her pale skin immediately swelled, turning a dark red. I leaned in close, my voice a low snarl. I already know that you and Caleb knew each other long ago. You claim to love him, so why are you here, pretending to be devoted to me? You want to string me along, use me, while you fawn over your little boy toy. You're just as pathetic and cheap as your home-wrecking mother. As the last word left my lips, the emotion in her eyes swirled like a gathering storm. But she couldn't say a word. I scoffed, released her, and walked away without looking back. That night, I had a dream. It was a rare dream of what happened after my death in the previous life. After the cake knife entered Caleb's chest, I succumbed to the excruciating pain and died. He was rushed to the hospital. Outside the operating room, Serena confronted Victoria, her voice shaking with fury. You said you would arrange everything. You said you would protect him. Victoria pushed her hand away, her voice cold. I have already agreed to share him with you. You're just an illegitimate daughter. Do you think you could control the Marsh family without my help? Don't push your luck. Serena stumbled back. You helped me? It was clearly. She cut herself off abruptly. Victoria sneered. Yes, it was my brother who helped you. But he's dead now. And the person who threw the acid at him? You were the one who contacted and arranged for that person, remember? Serena stood silently. The red light above the operating room door glowed ominously. A moment later, Caleb was wheeled out. The doctor said, the patient is not out of danger yet. Serena's gaze swept over his pale, bloodless face, and she trembled slightly. Then she spoke calmly. I remember. And I have never regretted it. I woke with a jolt, stumbling into the bathroom and dry heaving over the toilet for what felt like an eternity. When I finally straightened up, I gripped the sink and looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot and filled with a terrifying hatred. Never regretted it. I mumbled. It's fine. This life, you will regret it. You will regret ever being born. Just you wait. On the day of the Centennial Gala, I ran into Caleb by the school's artificial lake. He was wearing a discreetly luxurious silver suit, an expensive diamond brooch pinned to his collar. It was obvious Victoria had bought it to placate him. Leo Vance, do you really think your status as the Vance family's young master can protect you forever? He hissed. You've bullied me for so long. Did you really think I wouldn't fight back? I will make you pay 1,000 times over. So what if you know about me and Serena? She loves me. Your sister loves me. A person like you is incapable of being loved by anyone. He prattled on, and I just smiled and offered a simple reply. How did the toilet water taste? As his face contorted in rage, I turned and walked away. As evening approached, a fiery sunset spread across the sky. My orchestra and I changed into our performance attire and carried our instruments from the music room towards the backstage area. Halfway there, I realized my prop for the final bow was missing. Did I leave it in the music room? I thought for a moment and decided to go back for it. Dylan asked, want me to go with you? It's fine, it's not heavy. I can get it myself, I said with a smile. You guys go get your makeup done and then talk to the stage manager about our prop order. The large academic building was eerily empty. I took the stairs 2 at a time. But as I neared the floor of the music room, I stopped. Standing a few steps above me was a lone figure. The golden red light of the sunset streamed through the window, illuminating half of her face. The other half was shrouded in darkness, her eyes deep and swirling like a maelstrom. Serena. She spoke in a low voice, heavy with the promise of a storm. Leo, what are you doing? None of your damn business. Get out of my way. I tried to move past her, to continue up the stairs. But a sudden, immense force grabbed my shoulder. My mind lagged for a second. By the time I realized what was happening, my body was already falling backward. Behind me was a long, steep flight of stairs. I landed hard on my back, tumbling down the concrete steps. Amidst a blinding wave of pain, I crashed against the iron railing, a faint cracking sound coming from my shoulder and neck. Serena walked down the stairs, step by step, and stopped beside me. She looked down at me with the same calm, sorrowful eyes. But when she spoke, her voice was utterly cold. Don't blame me, Leo. You were born with everything. Even if you missed this opportunity, you have so many other paths you can take. But Caleb isn't like you. He has already done the best he possibly can within his means. With that, she grabbed my already injured arm and, with all her strength, began to slam it against the iron railing. The scene from my dream flashed in my mind. Her standing outside the operating room with my sister, both of them looking at Caleb with eyes full of gentle love. When she mentioned me, her voice was devoid of all emotion. I have never regretted it. The best 15 years of my life. My most passionate, sincere love. All of it had been wasted on a person like this. A laugh escaped my lips. Just as she was about to smash my arm against the railing again, I yanked it free. Pathetic, I spat. The pain in my twisted ankle made me gasp, but before Serena could react, I grabbed her hair and smashed her head against the railing. You worthless snake. You want to ruin me again? Dream on. Serena's head hit the iron with a sickening thud. Her forehead struck a sharp corner, and blood immediately gushed out, streaming down her face and staining her clothes. Leo? I took a couple of ragged breaths, let go of her hair, and staggered to my feet. The pain in my ankle was a constant, throbbing agony. But it didn't matter. I looked down at her pain-glazed eyes and slowly, very slowly, began to smile. How romantic, my dear Serena. Willing to sacrifice yourself just to ruin me here and secure a future for your pretty boy? This was Victoria's consequence, wasn't it? Did you two already decide to share him back then? How utterly disgusting. I took a piece of my own torn shirt and wiped the blood from my face, smearing the white fabric with red. Then I left her lying there and ran towards the auditorium as the sky darkened. From a distance, the elegant notes of a piano drifted out. It was Caleb, of course, playing the same piece from our last life. Debussy's Clair de Lune. He sat at a grand white piano on stage, dressed in a white suit. The stage was dark except for a single spotlight on him, making him look like a lone, brilliant spark in the night. Just like at my engagement party in my past life, he was dazzling, climbing to glory on my broken body. I ran down the narrow aisle between the seats, pushing past the security guards and the host who tried to stop me. I vaulted onto the stage. Standing in that single beam of light, I kicked over the piano bench and slammed my fist onto the keys. As Caleb stared at me in stunned silence, I completely lost it. Play? You want to play? I'll let you play, I screamed. You dare send your little lapdog to cripple me, and you're still sitting here playing your damn music. I knew that the special admissions officer, invited by Victoria, was sitting in the audience. In my past life, after hearing Caleb's Clair de Lune, she had approached him after the performance and offered him the sole special admission spot. Caleb accepted. It was just the first step in his glorious future. Later, with Victoria's careful planning, he was taken on as the final disciple of a legendary master in the music world. I, for a role, had to play a gifted pianist with autism. My agent arranged for me to study with that same master. I barely crossed paths with Caleb there. But that night, Victoria blocked my path at the door. She looked at me with disgust. Leo Vance, will you ever stop? Just because you're inferior. To Caleb in every way, you hate him so much that you'd even tear up the sheet music he hand-copied for his teacher? You truly are a bad seed. I was stunned for a moment, then instinctively tried to defend myself. She waved her hand dismissively. Lies. Nothing but lies. I won't believe a single word of your excuses. Amidst the uproar in the audience, I heard someone scream, blood. Look, his clothes are covered in blood. The blood and dirt smeared on my torn clothes, my messy hair, my grotesquely swollen ankle. Every detail about me screamed the truth of my words. Caleb stumbled to his feet, grabbing the piano bench for support. The venomous hatred in his eyes swirled for a moment before his usual mask of innocence slipped back into place. Leo, I don't know what you're talking about. There must be some misunderstanding. But this is my performance. Out of respect for the audience, you shouldn't have rushed up here like this. Victoria shot up from her seat in the audience, her voice booming with fury. Leo Vance, have you lost your mind? I ignored her, pushed Caleb aside, and sat down at the piano. And I began to play Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, the Fate Symphony. In my past life, to avoid using a hand double for that film role, I had diligently studied this piece for 3 months. I wasn't a master, but for this stage, in this moment, it was more than enough. The thunderous, passionate notes filled the vast auditorium, a roar of defiance and destiny. When the first movement was over, I turned to stare at Caleb, my voice ringing with conviction. You ruined my birthday party. You drove a wedge between me and my sister. You spread rumors about me in front of my family and friends. Those are small things. I will pay you back for them in my own way. But you had Serena push me down the stairs, trying to break my leg, just to keep me off this stage. I paused, staring at his suddenly pale face, and sneered. The piano is your greatest pride, isn't it? Are you so pathetic that you don't even have the confidence to win against me on a level playing field? The stage and the audience descended into chaos. Finally, The teacher in charge of the gala escorted Caleb and me off the stage as the host tried to smooth things over. The next performance was our orchestra piece. Backstage, I passed by the boys from my group. Dylan ran over, tears in his eyes, and grabbed my hand. "You're hurt, aren't you? I should have gone with you." "I'm fine," I said, patting his shoulder reassuringly. "Go perform. You've all rehearsed for so long. Go give yourselves a performance to be proud of." The first prize for the gala was $100,000. From the very beginning, I had arranged this piece for them, not for me. As I watched them walk onto the stage, a weight lifted from my shoulders. The intense pain and exhaustion finally caught up with me, and my eyes closed as my consciousness faded to black. I woke up in a hospital. That night, Victoria stormed into my room. "You lunatic. Leo, you're a complete and utter lunatic." She had wanted to play the long game, to carefully guide her beloved to a place of dazzling stardom. Like tending a flower, watching it bud and bloom, a source of immense satisfaction. But, dear sister, did you really think I would give you that chance? What now, sister? Your little pet didn't even finish his piece. Your plan to break my leg has been exposed. He'll never get into the school he wanted. I suddenly remembered something else. Oh, by the way, your accomplice, Serena, is still lying on the floor of the academic building. If you have a moment, you might want to send her to a hospital. I clutched the blanket and laughed, the movement sending a fresh wave of pain through my ankle, contorting my face. In the reflection of her eyes, I saw myself, a man possessed. Perhaps I had been a madman ever since the day I died in my past life. A muscle twitched in Victoria's jaw. The fire in her eyes vanished, replaced by her usual cold, superior demeanor. "And what good does that do you, Leo?" "So Caleb's performance failed. You didn't get to perform either. Not only that, your little psychotic episode was perfectly captured by the cameras. This time, you can't just wave a fake doctor's note and make it all go away. The school has already contacted Mom and Dad. They're preparing to expel you." "Ha ha ha." I roared with laughter. "Expulsion? A suspension at most. Do you think I care? Victoria, don't you forget, just like you, I am a child of the Vance family. As Serena said, if this path closes, I have many others to choose from. From the very beginning, my only goal was to drag your little pet down with me. Nothing more. All the things he accused me of in our past life, I would make them a reality. Every step he took on his path to glory, I would be there to block it. Our score isn't settled yet, Caleb. Not by a long shot. My rampage at the Centennial Gala, where I assaulted both Serena and Caleb, coupled with my previous bullying, was all over the internet. It created a huge public storm. The conflict between a rich heir and a poor student was a hot topic, then and now. But there was a difference this time. Because of my clear, defiant speech on stage, my battered appearance, and that furious, desperate performance of fate, a significant number of people sided with me. It's not necessarily the rich kid bullying the poor one. His piano playing doesn't sound like someone like that. LOL, is the person above me a paid bot? You can tell fortunes from piano playing now. No, but seriously, look at him. His ankle is swollen like a loaf of bread, and he's covered in blood. Who bullies someone and ends up looking like that? Forget everything else. This guy's mental state is a work of art, 8 versions ahead of its time. Finally, Dylan and the other boys from my orchestra jumped into the online fray. Leo Vance isn't like that at all. It was Caleb who started it. The internet was abuzz. During my hospital stay, I don't know what Victoria told our father, but when I was discharged and returned home, he looked at me with extreme coldness. "I take my eyes off you for a moment, and you become completely lawless. Since your school refuses to have you back, you'll go study abroad. Stay away for a few years until this blows over." His attitude didn't surprise me at all. Between me and his daughter, Victoria, he would always choose her. In my past life, when the engagement party disaster happened, my father was still alive. It was impossible for Victoria to pull off something that big without him knowing. But he never said a word to me, not even as I was dying. It didn't matter anymore. I pulled at the corner of my lips. "Fine. You always wanted to study acting. I'll help you apply to an art school." "No," I interrupted. "I want to study finance. Business." The two of them stared at me, stunned. When my father looked at me again, there was a new, deeper meaning in his eyes. My new school was arranged quickly. Serena's injuries were much more severe than mine. She was still in the hospital long after I had recovered. I heard Caleb went to visit her. He told her it wasn't her fault, that you were just too cruel, Dylan said, bringing a large bouquet of lilies of the valley to my house. A match made in Crazy Town. They were the ones who tried to break your leg. How are you the cruel one? I glanced at the flowers in his hand. These must have been expensive. The prize money was for you guys to keep. It's fine. Everyone knows you're going abroad. We all chipped in to get you something. He pushed the flowers into my hands and took a deep breath, as if steeling himself. Leo. I always feel like you know things I don't. Ever since that day Caleb transferred, something changed. I don't know how to say it. If you don't understand, just ignore me. He stepped around the bouquet and gave me a careful hug. Come back soon. When you come back, I'll still be your friend. The night before I left, my mother and I sat on the balcony as a gentle breeze blew by. She looked at me, wanting to say something but holding back. I took her hand and looked into her eyes. Mom, don't worry about me. In my past life, my mother died in a car accident. While she was alive, no matter how much my father favored Victoria, my sister never dared to move against me directly. A sudden chill went down my spine. In the end of my past life, Victoria was practically crazed with her love for Caleb. Could my mother's sudden car accident have been more than an accident? The thought made my heart clench, and my grip on her hand tightened instinctively. You have to be careful. Protect yourself. I paused, then forced the words out. And be careful of Victoria. Leo, you seem different from before, my mother said, looking at me with a pensive expression. She sighed. It was my failure. You used to be so naive. You believed everything anyone told you. When I told you that Marsh girl was no good, you argued with me, saying she's not. Like that at all. When I asked your father for company shares for your birthday, you undermined me, saying a car would be fine. You made me so angry. Back then, I wished you were a little smarter, a little sharper. But if this change came at some terrible price, I would rather you had stayed naive forever. What mother doesn't know her own child? In my past life, I was a fool, always assuming the best in people. That's why Caleb could trick me countless times without me ever truly fighting back. That's why I died at my own engagement party. It won't happen again, Mom, I said, pressing my reddening eyes. A small laugh escaped my lips. In this dog-eat-dog world, the naive ones are the first to be eaten. It was a pity I had to die once to learn that lesson. I was 18 when I left the country, dragging my suitcase into a world that was entirely new and foreign. But I felt no fear. I knew, too, much about what was to come. Even if the details were hazy, the major turning points were clear enough for me to do a great many things. The most important one would happen in 2 years. In my past life, when I was 20, Victoria got a tip from somewhere and personally flew to San Francisco to partner with a woman named Charlotte Reed. That woman held a cutting-edge core technology. Over the next 5 years, it helped Victoria completely and utterly take control of the Vance Corporation. I invested the money my mother gave me into the stock market. Using the faint memories of my past life, I multiplied my starting capital many times over, while taking double the course. Load at school, I used the money to invest in several companies that, in my past life, had become Fortune 500 giants. At this point, many of them were still in their startup phase. During this time, Dylan contacted me often. A voice call every week, like clockwork. He'd tell me how much the orchestra members missed me since I left. He'd also say that with his share of the prize money, his life had become much easier. A while back, a top university came for early admissions. Caleb applied, but he was rejected in the interview. It was hilarious. The professor interviewing him was actually at our centennial gala. She said Caleb's Clair de Lune was muddy and soulless, and couldn't compare to your Fate Symphony. You have no idea. The way Caleb cried to his lapdog Serena after he came out was as pathetic as my laughter was glorious. The college entrance exam scores are out. I'm first in our school, third in the city. When I received that message, I was being tortured by final exams for my dual degrees, but I still managed a genuine smile. Congratulations. Leo, I'm still waiting for you to come back and be my friend. My mother also called often, updating me on Victoria's recent activities and asking if I was doing okay on my own, if I had enough money. When I vaguely hinted at my current situation, she would sigh with a mixture of pride and helplessness. You're still young. Don't push yourself too hard, she'd say. If you need help with anything, you have to tell me. Don't be shy. So I gave her Charlotte Reed's name, along with what little I remembered, and asked her to investigate someone for me. And whatever you do, I stressed, keep it from my sister. I arrived in San Francisco a month before Victoria. Outside the university, I was about to ask for directions when I saw a familiar face on a nearby lawn. A younger-looking Charlotte Reed. Standing in front of her was a tall, thin man with short hair and glasses. He was glaring at her. That is my research. Who gave you permission to discuss commercial partnerships with it without my consent? Charlotte forced a smile. What's yours or mine? Didn't we work on it together? The idea was mine. The experiments were mine. You were a lab assistant who helped record some data. How does that give you the right to dispose of my work? The man retorted, giving no ground. Hearing this, Charlotte's expression hardened. Julian, don't take it too far. We're about to graduate. I'm thinking about our future. What's the use of you hoarding the data? Isn't finding a reliable company to partner with the best way to maximize its value? I'll say this one last time. That is my work, the man, Julian Kane, said, his voice flat and emotionless. The patent is in my name. You don't even know the core technology, and you want to find a partner? As long as I am alive, that will never happen. Also, we're through. From this moment on, you and I are finished. He turned and walked away. Charlotte stood there, staring at his back, her eyes slowly turning cold. A chilling, murderous intent flashed in her pupils. Standing there, I suddenly understood. In my past life, I once overheard Caleb ask Victoria how she managed to get someone as talented as Charlotte. Read on her side. At the time, Victoria was lounging by the pool with him. She just smiled and said, because she needed my help with something. More importantly, in my past life, I had never once heard the name Julian Kane. I managed to arrange a meeting with Julian. We met in a coffee shop far from their university. He sat down across from me and got straight to the point. Mr. Vance, I know why you're here. But my work is not for sale. Why not? He hesitated for a moment before answering. Right now, it's only a prototype. My hand, raising the coffee cup to my lips, froze. I know you businessmen only care about commercial value, but I don't. I only care about the final result, about the changes it can bring to human technology. To me, the work itself is what matters most. I stared at him. As he spoke about his ideals, his unadorned face shone with an indescribable brilliance. He was a dazzling person. He should have become a great scientist whose name was written in history books. But in my past life, because of the selfish desires of two women, he died in a foreign country, vanishing like a speck of dust under the wheels of history. Mr. Vance, if there's nothing else, I should be going. I suddenly reached out and blocked his path. I looked at him earnestly. Mr. Kane, I am willing to provide all the funding and resources you need for your research. In return, all I ask is that you help me with a small matter after you achieve your final result. Your work will still belong to you. History will remember it under your name. Is that acceptable? The day I returned to the country, a light snow was falling. As I walked out of the airport with my suitcase, my eyes were immediately drawn to a massive billboard. On it, to my disgust, was Caleb's face. While I had been busy abroad building my company to rival Victoria's growing empire at Vance Corp, he hadn't been idle. After failing the special admission and the interview, Victoria had still managed to get him into a film academy, and he had successfully debuted in the entertainment industry. She was nothing if not consistent. I sneered and got into the car. We drove through the snow-dusted traffic, heading straight to my company building. The bidding conference in 3 days was another crucial turning point. Julian and I locked ourselves in the company for 3 days, optimizing our proposal to perfection. At the public bidding, we won the contract without any real competition. When the winning company was announced, I stood up from my seat and met Victoria's shocked gaze from across the room. You? Leo Vance. I smiled. Long time no see, sister. After the event, she chased me down and cornered me in the hallway, her voice still laced with disbelief. Aura is your company? After Julian Kane disappeared, you were the one hiding him, weren't you? You seem anxious, Victoria. I chuckled. What do you mean, hiding him? You don't even know the man. Why are you so obsessed with finding him? Are you planning to do something illegal, perhaps? Her eyes narrowed into dangerous slits. I just laughed and walked away. My return this time was anything but low-key. After securing the contract, I began networking everywhere, meeting many prominent figures in the business world, holding the exclusive rights to Julian's patent and, having just snatched a major project from Vance Corp, everyone was exceedingly polite and friendly towards me. This was a level of respect I had never experienced, not even after winning 3 Best Actor awards. People really do need to control the means of production, I mused, holding a glass of red wine. Beside me, Dylan turned and looked me up and down. I don't know. It feels like you were only gone for 4 years, but you came back 10 years more mature. It's normal, I guess. At 18, you can get away with being crazy, I said. Now that I've graduated college, I have to at least pretend to be civilized before I show my fangs. With that, I raised my auction paddle. 2 million. In the front row, Caleb whipped his head around. Serena, sitting beside him, also turned to look at me. The moment our eyes met, she seemed momentarily lost. I caught a glimpse of the faint scar on her forehead and found it incredibly amusing. 2.6 million. Snapping out of her daze, she immediately raised her paddle, entering a bidding war with me. I knew she was buying the watch for Caleb. His birthday was in a few days. Even though she had clawed her way to some influence in her family's company, it was nothing compared to Victoria's absolute control over Vance Corporation. To compete for favor, she had to find other ways to please him. I kept bidding against her, watching her spend 6 million on that watch. I smiled. Such a deep and profound love. Serena clutched the watch box, looking at me silently. After a long moment, she called out softly, "Leo, don't. I'm going to be sick," I said, taking an exaggerated step back and looking her up and down. After a moment, I scoffed. "You're more capable than your home-wrecking mother. At least you managed to secure your position. I'm just curious about your schedule with my sister. Do you get him Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and she gets Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and you share him on Sundays?" I made no attempt to lower my voice. As expected, as soon as the auction ended, some business acquaintances came over to ask for gossip. I put on a troubled expression. My sister and the illegitimate daughter of the Marsh family have fallen for the same little celebrity. It's a messy situation. Every family has its romantics, I suppose. They'll endure anything for true love. I didn't just spread gossip about the three of them. I also poured money into the film industry, promoting new male actors and snatching several of Caleb's key roles from his past life, right from under his nose. Victoria couldn't stand to see her precious boy suffer like that. She immediately made a move against me. Perfect. That's exactly what I was waiting for. If you don't make a move, how can you reveal your weaknesses? My name and my company suddenly appeared on the trending topics list. Hashtag Aura founder Leo Vance school bully. Hashtag Leo Vance spreads vicious rumors. Hashtag Caleb Stone bullied. The video of me smashing Caleb's piano at the gala was released again. This time, however, they conveniently edited out the part where I played fate. Not only that, they had contacted classmates from our high school to prove that I had indeed bullied Caleb. Yes, back then, Leo Vance really disliked Caleb, a former classmate said in a video, his face a mask of indignation. He tore up his test papers, poured ink in his desk, and led the whole class in ostracizing him. But because he was a rich kid, Caleb couldn't do anything about it. He just had to endure all the abuse. When things got out of hand, the school expelled him. But he just went abroad to get a fancy degree and came back as the founder of a hot new company. My company's stock price plummeted for days. Several partners called, delicately asking what was going on. I knew that if I didn't give them a satisfactory answer, our collaborations would be terminated. "Just wait a little longer," I said, spinning a pen in my hand, smiling as I stalled. "We're all business people. We all know you shouldn't make a move unless you're absolutely sure of your position." Fortunately, Caleb didn't have as much patience as I thought. He hated me even more than in our past life, and seeing my reputation plummet, he seized the opportunity to jump out. During a live broadcast, he brought up the topic. I remember that time, the teacher asked me to stand up and read a text. Because I went to elementary school in a small village where one teacher taught many subjects, my English was not standard. He paused, a pained look on his face. It's a bit embarrassing to say, but when he laughed, it was the first time I realized my pronunciation was wrong. That school gala performance. I prepared for it for so long. I've been studying piano for so many years. His voice was calm, but by the end, his eyes were glistening with tears. The comments, a mix of random netizens and paid bots hired by Victoria, flooded the screen. "Baby, you're not embarrassing at all. You're amazing. He's the shameless one. Who does he think he is, looking down on a hardworking, ordinary person?" Wait, am I the only one who noticed the contradiction between him saying his village school didn't even have an English teacher and him studying piano for over a decade? I saw that last comment and couldn't help but laugh. But it flashed by in an instant, quickly buried in the sea of text. That day's live stream broke 5 million concurrent viewers. The next day, my father summoned me home and sternly ordered me to merge my company, Aura, with Vance Corporation. "You studied abroad for 4 years and learned nothing. You've only been back a few days and you've caused such a mess. Hurry up and hand over the company. Then go make a public apology." I looked at him calmly. Dad, let's be clear. It's my sister's boyfriend who's causing trouble, not a problem with my company. That's because you bullied him first, he roared, slamming his hand on the table. If you don't listen to me, then consider me not your father. I smiled faintly. I'm sorry, but you didn't give birth to me. My mother was the one who carried me and brought me into this world. Soon, Vance Corp and Marsh Industries announced a partnership. The two families joined forces to attack my company, snatching several large projects from Aura. My father publicly announced his intention to disown me, declaring he had no such malicious son. In my company's parking garage, I was nearly attacked with acid by one of Caleb's extremist fans. My father was also secretly plotting with him, using my high school madness and that old psychiatric evaluation to have me committed to a mental institution. Past life, present life, the same old dirty tricks. In that case, my counterattack begins now. Sister. Seeing me retreat step by step, seemingly powerless, Victoria and Caleb grew bolder. Just then, Caleb won his first Best Actor award. With his birthday approaching, Victoria threw a massive celebration for him. The venue was opulent, filled with his fans, and the entire event was broadcast live. Caleb, dressed in a white suit, graciously thanked his supporters. The next segment was a video montage of blessings from his fans. The large screen behind him flickered to life. The footage was blurry, the angles surreptitious, as if secretly filmed. It showed a dressing room on a film set. Another actor was adjusting his makeup in the mirror when Caleb suddenly bumped into him. He grabbed the other actor's hand and forced it to punch his own face. Then, as the other actor stared in stunned silence, Caleb smiled. The role I wanted. Who gave you permission to compete with me for it? You even dared to make me your supporting actor. Do you have any idea who my girlfriend is? Victoria Vance, the CEO of Vance Corporation. When my girlfriend sees the bruise on my face, have you figured out how you're going to apologize to me? No, wait. He corrected himself, his smile turning wicked. You should be thinking about what you'll do for a living after the video of you bullying me on set gets released and you're blacklisted from the industry. The final shot was of him staring at the dumbfounded actor, his expression dripping with malicious intent. No, Caleb shrieked, lunging towards the screen to block it, but it was useless. The fans in the audience had already erupted. Amidst the chaos, the names Caleb and Victoria Vance were skyrocketing up the trending charts. Hashtag Caleb Stone My Girlfriend is Victoria Vance. Hashtag Caleb Stone Birthday Livestream. Hashtag Caleb Stone Gets Bullied Again. The comments section exploded. Dylan, sitting next to me, was furiously typing on his phone. His comment, Caleb, how do you manage to get bullied everywhere you go? Is the whole world against you? Was quickly liked to the top. OMG, he made someone hit him. He really went for it. His face is all swollen. Well, how else can he prove he was bullied? He shouldn't be named Caleb Stone, more like Caleb the Crybaby. If I remember correctly, the original lead for the movie that won him Best Actor wasn't him. It was another actor who was pretty popular before some compromising photos of him were leaked, and then he was blacklisted. So when he can't get a role through auditions, he resorts to slander and fabricated scandals? Gross. Amidst the heated discussion, another video went viral. This one was filmed at a university abroad, the scene filled with students of all nationalities. They were laughing at a Chinese student who had just spoken, mocking his less-than-perfect accent. A skinny, blonde student who led the mockery repeated a phrase in perfect, crisp English. You see this? This is a proper accent, you joker. Then I appeared on screen, grabbing the blonde student by the collar and punching him squarely in the face. I swore at him in flawless English. Laughing? What's so funny? Is this how you laughed at your father's funeral? The other student flew into a rage, yelling that he wanted to fight me one-on-one. He was promptly met with another fist. I pressed the tip of my shoe under his chin and sneered. You see this? This is Chinese Kung Fu, you peasant. The video was posted by an anonymous international student with a caption, I was also born in the mountains. The day I was born, my grandmother almost threw me into the stove. But unlike Caleb Stone, there was no piano in my village, and no kind benefactor giving me tens of thousands a month for living expenses. There was only me, a person who took nearly 30 years to gather the courage to see the world, only to be mocked on my first day abroad. I just can't stand by and watch someone twist the truth and slander a person who helped me. The comments flooded in. Am I seeing this right? This is the Leo Vance that Caleb accused of bullying him and mocking his English accent. Finally, someone said it. What kind of village kid studies piano for over a decade? The logic doesn't even add up, yet so many people believed him. Damn, that guy is hot. Benefactor? Isn't Caleb's benefactor Victoria Vance, Leo's own sister? Who knows if she wasn't just trying to frame her own brother to fight over the family inheritance? Then came the video from my 18th birthday party. The surveillance footage of Caleb jumping from a rooftop himself to frame another boy from the orphanage for pushing him, just to secure Victoria's sponsorship. Evidence of Victoria hiring hitmen, not just the attempted murder of Julian Kane, but countless other dirty deeds she and my father had committed to grow the Vance Corp and eliminate competition. I had my mother to thank for helping me acquire much of this. And finally, there was Serena. She had emotionally manipulated her own birth mother for 7 years, driving her to commit suicide in front of her biological father. She traded her mother's life for a chance to enter the Marsh family. I spent a fortune piecing together clues from both lifetimes to collect all this evidence and unleash it on the world, one piece at a time. Thanks to their own previous actions, countless eyes were already on this feud. When it escalated to criminal activity, the situation exploded. The public frantically reported them to the police. They had no way to suppress the story this time. Those who try to manipulate public opinion will ultimately be destroyed by it. Are you satisfied with this ending? The day my father and Victoria were taken away by the police, my mother presented a divorce decree. Victoria was in disbelief, screaming at her. Mom, am I not your daughter? Why are you siding with Leo? I'm your child too. Your father favored you, so I'll favor your brother, my mother said with a soft sigh. She sat down opposite her and took a sip of tea. The world has a way of balancing itself out, doesn't it? The projects that Vance Corp and Marsh Industries had snatched from me all imploded, one after another. Economic crimes were added to their list of charges. I took over the heavily damaged Vance Corp and merged it into Aura. Then, I went to meet with the new head of Marsh Industries, a man named Ryan Marsh. He was Serena's older, legitimate half-brother. His parents' marriage had been a business arrangement. When I was young, I hated that woman. I thought she destroyed my family, he said, picking up his coffee cup. Later, I realized that if my father hadn't had an affair, Serena would never have existed in the first place, dying at the hands of her own daughter. I suppose that's her karma. I had contacted him a year prior and formed a partnership. I would help him oust Serena from the company and secure his sole control. In return, he would help me with resource exchange and connections within the country. This recent social media war, for instance, was largely his handiwork. But I am curious, Leo, he said. How did you guess that my stepmother's suicide was connected to her? I just smiled and said nothing. Because in my past life, that's what she did to me. Before the sentencing, I made a special trip to the prison to visit my old acquaintances. The first was my sister. She stared at me with pure hatred. Don't look at me like that, sister, I said with a smile. I know what you want to ask. I've already experienced being thrown out like a stray dog once before. You didn't really think I spent all those years abroad just partying and wasting my life away, did you? During the most grueling period, I barely slept, catching only fragmented moments of rest. Besides my classes and company affairs, I was busy building a network of contacts, digging through the shadows of my past life to find evidence of their crimes. Their methods were so polished, so ruthless, I knew it couldn't have been their first time. Evil people aren't just evil in front of you. In the places you can't see, they cast even darker shadows. I was right. Victoria, Dad always said I wasn't like him. He raised you to be a tyrant, willing to break any rule and any law to get what you want. Luckily for me, I'm not like him. The second person I visited was Caleb. His hair was a mess, his eyes hollow. Through the glass, his gaze was so full of hate, it looked like he wanted to eat me alive. He was no longer capable of playing the victim. He hysterically demanded to know why I hadn't released the evidence sooner if I'd had it all along. Was it fun playing weak? He shrieked. Of course it was fun. Otherwise, why would you have played that part for so long? I said, standing up. It's always more interesting to let you think you've already won. I could have released everything much earlier. But where would the fun have been in that? I had to let them believe they had achieved total victory, that they had gotten everything they ever wanted. And then, in the final hour before dawn, I would make them watch as it all turned to ash. It was what I had experienced in my past life. This time, it was your turn. The last person I went to see was Serena. To be honest, I didn't want to see her. Caleb was my enemy from start to finish. My relationship with Victoria was bound by blood. But Serena, once my love for her vanished, she meant nothing to me. But the police told me she had requested to see me. So there we were, sitting face to face, separated by a pane of glass. She watched me in silence for a long time. Finally, growing impatient, I stood up. What is it you want? It wasn't supposed to be like this, she said in a low voice. The Vance family should have been mine. We should have been engaged. I stopped, my hand on the door, and turned back sharply. She stared at me, her dark eyes glittering with an inscrutable light. Looking at her face, if not for the faint scar on her forehead, for a split second I thought I was looking at the Serena from my past life. The thought was absurd, ludicrous. Just engaged? Why don't you finish the story? You used me to get everything from the Vance family, and then you and Victoria conspired to kill me. But long after, I regretted it, she said, her voice hoarse. It's just, you never knew. I wished so much that you could know. It was too ridiculous, too laughable. That's right. I was dead. Of course I didn't know, I said, turning back to face her completely. I pressed my hands against the glass, staring into her eyes, and spoke, each word a shard of ice. But even if I had known, what would have changed? Who cares about your regret? This time, I'm the one who wins. And you're the one going to hell. Serena, this is what you deserve. Winter came early that year. By the time I left the prison, the sky was already dark. Julian called to say he was heading abroad after the new year to start a new experiment at his research institute. I wished him a safe journey. After hanging up, a message from Dylan popped up on my phone. He was already at the hot pot restaurant, telling me to get my butt over there and pay the bill. I smiled and typed back a simple, okay. Outside the car window, a crescent moon hung high in the sky, illuminating a corner of the inky blackness. When this night passed, the moon would set, and my sun would rise again. The end.